Well, hello everyone, and welcome back to part 15 of the TOS Enterprise build. Today we're actually going to do the base coat. I already did the base color gray. I did a couple coats of that. This way we don't have to use our custom color up. And now we're about to put 2 to 3 coats of the actual custom color on. This way we have some left over to do touch-ups and anything like that. So let's go take a look. So hello everybody, we're about to paint the secondary hull. Of course Mr. Compressor decides to come on right now. I want to talk. I'm gonna wait a second. But yeah, all that came out really nice. And then I hit it with the primer again. All in there, all those seams look really nice. But that came out really good. Really happy with that. So she's ready to get the final coats on her. I already have the paint loaded. And we'll just try to do a nice light mix. Even try to get some down on the neck. Alright, I think it's time for a dry cycle. And this is pretty much what it is. Put a little light coat on with this craft acrylic and then dry it. You always want to get a dry coat in there, especially on the pylons, because they're so hard to get, and you end up trying to hit back to them, you know, a couple times, and then all of a sudden you get a heavy edge, and it'll want to run, especially this craft acrylic, you know, being a water base. Alright, here we go again, and Mr. Compressor's going to come on, so I apologize. You can see I'm going really light. It's the only way to go. Do 4, maybe 5 light coats. 4's been seen to do it. Make sure you get each layer dry, because it can keep running on you if you don't, and keep softening the under layers, because it is water based, and now you're putting water and paint on top of it, and wants to soften up the under base. That's okay, because then they bond really good each coat. But yeah, we're starting to see some of the actual lighter color. That's the color I mixed with a gray, a green, and some white. And it's based off of the gray that was down already, that I used as a primer. But I figured this way I didn't have to use so many coats of the actual color that I want the hull to be. You just do quite a few coats of the base. But I think we're ready for another coat. I tell you what, this saucer sprays much nicer than the cells. The cells I had hanging, and it's hard to see on the other side. I need a big spray booth that actually has lights on the wall so you can see around, things. So if I had lights on the walls, but it's hard to get that not to run because they're just cylinders, and it doesn't take much, but it's hard to cover because you're just shooting a tube that's only about that big. This one's going down pretty good, and we're starting to actually now see the color of the Enterprise. Let's see how much paint we got in here. Yeah. I thought we'd use about what we have just on the bottom because I want to make sure. And if I stand in the way, please forgive me. You want to stay in or keep your dryer moving. I use a hair dryer. Some people you can also use a heat gun, but heat guns throw off a lot of heat and don't move a lot of air, so you get kind of close and you can easily burn the paint. Or even if another scenario, even with the dryers, if you got a lot of real wet area, and you just sit there in that area and dry it too fast, it'll actually crack because it's drying unevenly. So you just want to keep it moving. But the dryer works nicely because it moves a lot of air at one time. Yeah, because you don't want to overdo it and make it crack. So then you got to kind of sand that crack away because it'll never fill in. You know, sometimes you can have heavy areas. You can have runs and let it dry almost completely where you see that little bulb where the weight's pulling it down. Sometimes you can wipe that away, dry it some more, and then spray, and it'll kind of hide itself because, you know, it getting re-wet will make it level a little bit. But best thing to do is just really light coats and dry, you know. And the only reason I dry with a dryer because it's, you know, being a water-based paint, and it's probably 65 degrees down here in the basement, so it's a little on the cool side, maybe even a little less than 65, but I would say you can definitely notice the difference coming from the 70-degree upstairs to down here. So it would sit here forever and dry. Sometimes the last coat I'll only lightly dry and then let it kind of do its thing and not dry so fast and level out and do its thing. But I think we can do one more light mist over here. I see a little bit of dark gray kind of coming through over there, and maybe I gotta hit the lower part of that pylon. So we'll do the real light mist. hard to tell if you're hitting the edges of the pylon. You don't want to hit them too much because that's where they like to run as well. This one I'll start letting it dry a little bit. Just so the plastic's warm, and we'll let her do her thing. And then we'll come back and we'll flip it onto the stand. It should still be covered under here. Am I going to find the center hole? No. Of course it moved. There we go. And once she's dry, we'll flip her upside down. This is where I like to let it a little wet. Just take that nice little bit of shininess, wetness away. And then, you know, any water that's just on its own. And stop it from wanting to run. And let it soak into each other layer. You know, I guess that works, but it seems to work for me, and it gets nice and level. Because sometimes you dry it too fast, it doesn't allow it to grab you to make it just sit level. But yeah, it's looking good so far. It probably looks quite gray on here, but especially once you get a spray of the clear coat on, it shows the green. But it's not too heavy. It might be little, you know. Here it looks great. Might be a little greener than expected, but really, if you look at the Smithsonian, it's really green, especially on the saucer. Because they added a lot of even just green that that's like a weathering or something. But yeah, we'll shut this down and we'll come back and do the top side. And then all the main pieces are sprayed with the hull. I got all those pieces sprayed with the darker gray, all the accent detail pieces that go on the nacelle and on top of the saucer and the impulse engine area. That's all, they're all ready to get put on here. So we just gotta finish this, clear it, and then we can start assembling. I don't know if I'm going to put the parts on first and then do the decals or vice versa. I think I'll put the parts on first in case I have a scratch or an oops. I can still touch up without any decals in the way. And then we'll probably hit the decals. And I'm going to leave the saucer and the nacelles off of, not together. I think I'm going to decal them separate. So much easier to work decal saucer when you're just dealing with a saucer. You can just spin it. And probably it's going to be easier to deal with this without dealing with a big saucer and nacelles in the way. So I'll have to try that, but we'll be back shortly. Right, Jack? Alright, we're back. The bottom is dried. I got a clear coat on the nacelles, but now it's time to paint the rest of this hull and get this top part done. Camera a little closer than I had it before. The bad thing about curly cord hoses, it gets stuck in your way. little bit of a run there. Try it this direction. Maybe I can see a little more. Hooked on the tripod. Before we overdo it, let's dry it. Time for another coat. Barely looks like I'm even spraying any at all, but that's how light sometimes you want to go. It's starting to get the color like really good. Gets me excited. We got the paint here. Oh, plenty. I'll tell you what, the way that gun sprays, it really levels things out that are a little weird, like wood runs. You just do a couple light mists and it levels everything out. room to stay back in there. I'll be able to get that ledge to be already pre-painted now. I just got to touch up. Let's see if I can get a little. Most of that I'm going to have to hit with the airbrush to get in all the deep crevices, but oh, that's it. This will be our misty wet coat. That's it. All she wrote. And we are done. That looks good. Looks really good. Like I said, I like to leave that to kind of dry more naturally on its own, that last coat. So that's what we're going to do. I hit it a little bit with a dryer just to warm it up and get rid of any potential when it runs. But since we spray it so misty and fine, yeah, that looks good. So we're going to let that dry. I'm going to start cleaning up. I got a gun to clean up. Put this paint away and get everything back upstairs into the shop. So see you soon.